Here we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much for coming today. I can actually help answer a few of the questions for Brazil if you want. I'm originally Brazilian, and I've actually supported projects in data science and research in Brazil, India, and Africa. I've been to Kenya and loved it very much. So I'm very happy to continue the conversation if anyone wants to. But I'm not here to talk about that today. So just to give you a quick intro, my name is Letícia. I am, as I said, from south of Brazil specifically. I have worked in this area for the past 10 years. Sorry, not that old. 10 years. And I, eventually realized that I wanted to do something that was more related to design than what I was doing. So 4 years ago, we started with Odd Studio. And we have been working with many, many clients. Sometimes we forget to put them here. And what we have realized along the years of working at Odd Studio with these clients here is that we have and we face many challenges inside companies when we're talking about how we can deal and how we can support data solutions and develop data solutions in companies, organizations, institutions, and for society. So we are a data product design studio. And to give you an example or to try to put it in different words, what we do is we usually have at one side a challenge that is either presented to us by our client or by society. And at the other side, we have an intended user. And we have to understand that both the challenge and the user, when the challenge is related to data, which is what we work with, are usually going to be transformed into an analytical solution. And what we have to do is we have to meet our users' intent and our users' needs, considering their community and the society that they are into. So, for example, developing or designing a data product for Brazil or for the US or for Kenya are completely different communities, society, and context. So our work is usually called as the translator. So what we do is we connect this both worlds to the best of our intents, and we try to make it so that people can actually adopt the technology, adopt the solution that we are developing, and trust the results, and probably and possibly make better decisions. So as we all know, and I don't need to tell you this, we have not, even though we have been having lots of layoffs in technology in general, that doesn't mean that investments in AI and investments in this area has been dropping. On the contrary, it has been increasing. But we still have a lot of companies and a lot of business executives saying that only 30% of them are actually able to create measurable value from data. And what's more incredible, I would say, is that less than 30% of them says that their data and analytical projects actually produce actionable insights. So this is usually due to a lot of problems. We can say data silos. We can say that these are coming specifically from one area and not another one. We have biases here. We have technological barriers. We have many things. But probably, and most what I have seen in this case scenarios is that they usually don't have a purpose or a clear orientation of what they want for the organization and why they want it. So I have seen this over and over again, that you have great ideas, you have great people working, but you don't have a good connection between areas. So projects stay in the drawer and they don't scale. So what usually happens is that people don't really understand that there's a difference between something that's open, accessible, and actionable. And it's a very big difference. And from you to go from open to actionable, you have lots and lots of steps. And the more you include your user in this conversation and the more you understand them, probably the better and the most adopted it's going to be. So usually what happens is you have at one side people that want to open and make all data available because you have lots and lots of data in these companies or in their organizations or ministries, for example, and big countries. And at the other side, you have people making decisions, but there's a transformation process. And sometimes it is a one-way work. And what we usually say is that we need to be able to connect these 2 points. We need to be able to say, this is not what I need. What I need is this other thing. And I need to be able to say that as soon as possible. So what we have been working on for the past more than 4 years, I would say, is a method or a canvas, as we call it, to kickstart these projects. So we talk about 10 steps that help us understand better how we can design better data products. And usually we say that great analytics starts with well-defined questions, but for us, we actually should include analytical processes into designing one specific way for us to start working and designing data products. So what this means is inside our process of developing and designing data products, we don't go to prototyping solutions before we actually frame our problem really well. And one of the methods that we use for this is the method that I'm going to show you a little bit about today, because I don't have a lot of time, as we know, but I can definitely make our GitHub page available. We're writing a book about this. It's probably going to come out only next year, but you can definitely take a look at what we already have and use it in your companies, use it tomorrow if you want. So as I said, if we take a look at how we can unlock the full value of data in companies and organizations, for us, it's managing it like a product. So we understand that this is a way for us to deliver faster use case, to decrease the cost of maintenance, development, and to increase ownership. And of course, you can already understand how both areas can contribute to answering analytical questions. So for us, this means, as I said, that it is user-centered and sometimes community-centered, because sometimes our user doesn't function alone. And as any other product or solution, sometimes you need something really complex, or sometimes you need something really simple. And sometimes we over-deliver by wanting to make a product that our user is not ready for. So sometimes all you need is a small stool for you to sit on, and it's the same with data products. So this is the method, and as I said, we have 10 steps, but today I'm going to be focusing on 4, because I believe that it is important for us to discuss the difference between analytical solution and format. So naming names is always good for us, and I think that here we have a crucial understanding of how you can plan and design better data products for your customer. So the first thing we usually go through is the challenge. And there's no really right or wrong or first and last. There's more adequate, less adequate, and there is things making sense and connecting. So sometimes you're going to start with the challenge and you're going to go back to it at the end and see if it still makes sense. And your challenge here is way more about the needs, the answers you need to actually bring to the table, and to the purpose that you are providing. So it is less about the analysis, it is less about the data science or the model that you are applying. So what I mean is, you can have different ways of looking at the same data set. You can explore it, so you can combine different variables and take a look at the insights you have. You can exploit it, so you can take a specific information and you can drill it down. You can look more into the past, or you can try to predict more of the future. And there's even another layer here that we're not discussing, which is making a diagnosis of a specific situation. So saying the hows and the whys. And also, you can have different purposes. So you can actually use a data product to inspire. You can actually use a data product to explain, to inform, and to provide an exploration. And all of these are very different. And if we don't have this clear from the get-go, if we don't have this clear from the beginning, we tend to think that they are all the same, and we will probably deliver something that's not going to be used. So these discussions here are very important. So sometimes, for example, a data journalist is going to try to explain something, or is going to try to inspire people to understand something at the end of the day, where someone that's more on the analytical or BI side of it, we'll maybe try to help someone be more informed to decide, or we'll provide information for them to explore. So these also depend on area, depend on format, and depend on analytical solution. So here are a few examples of things that are challenges, and that are challenges that still don't have really the clear way of how you're going to answer the questions or the methods that you're going to be using. But it brings everyone to the table and puts everyone on the same page of how we're going to actually do this together. So for example, here, to analyze and identify patterns in the consumption of beer in Istanbul for the past 10 years. I have a where, I have a for how long, I have what I want, and I still don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, because sometimes the business doesn't know how to make those decisions, but the data science team does. But we are all clear on what we want. To identify and rank the most vulnerable populations impacted by the climate emergency. That's another way of looking at a challenge. So it's still broad, but it's not as broad as, for example, to define who we should hire. That's where, for how long, in which position. These are very, very open-ended questions, and they lead you to nothing. So these are not challenges. These are more of like broad, generic objectives in a company. So we need to be able to get to something like this if we want to move forward with our data product. And to give you an example, you can all access vizheads.com. It is a project that we did last year for the DataViz Society. 2.0 version is coming this year for sure. So every year, the DataViz Society launches a survey and asks people who do they recommend in the area. And what we wanted to do was to answer the question for people that usually come to us, I'm interested in DataViz, who should I follow? And we wanted to make it fun. We wanted to make it engaging and exploratory. So the objective here was not to make people decide anything. It was to give a menu of options and at the same time tell a story and inspire people to get it. So we use the specific technology, we use the specific format, and we actually played around a bit with the heads. So you can access it and play online. But at the same time, we're telling a story where we're saying, well, people don't really recommend people from Africa, from Asia, Latin America, and Caribbean. They usually tell us that we should follow more people from North America. But the first thing we wanted was people to follow. And then we tell the small story if they're interested in it. So this shapes completely the way that we will be designing our product at the end. Secondly, our user. I don't need to tell you how important this is, but if we think about it, our user here can be a machine, can be actually a person. They have different times to dedicate for your product. They have a small amount of time or a lot of time. And honestly, I usually question people on the way that they quickly decide for dashboards, because if people are going to be making decisions every, 4 or 5 months for something, why are we developing something in real time? Why are we wasting money and resources for something that they could actually take a look in a report every couple of times a year? So it doesn't make sense. So all of these elements here can help us identify and understand our user and how we can provide the best solution for them. Also, we have to consider that people nowadays are absolutely overloaded with information. Brains are tired. We just got back from a big thing that just impacted all of us, and we don't really know who to trust anymore. So we have a big problem with misinformation and disinformation. So how much do they trust you? How much are you being transparent with your information for your user? And how much are you reducing the cognitive load for them? Or are you just giving them more information that they don't need? These are things that you should consider as well. And of course, when we plan for the most vulnerable and consider special needs, we usually include more people in the process. So we should be talking about accessibility by design, considering our end user. So here is a quick example from this. So we have this product called analytical photography. It's another method, just like data product method. But to give you a quick example, what we do here is, instead of analyzing a specific product, we take like a bird's eye view of all of the products in a specific company. So here, what we looked for were all of the products that they have developed. So big companies have lots and lots of products, right? So we diagnose and help them understand which of the products are being used and useful. And here we have 112 products from a specific company, then I cannot tell you who it is, and 3 different areas. And we can understand that 50% of them are being more or less used. So POs, and this was our user, POs and data owners could see, well, what should I do with the products that I have? And are people adopting the technology that I am developing? Which ones should I look first or last? So, and we not only took this big view here, but we also looked specifically for each of the products. So what you're seeing here is what we call a data portrait or self-read from a data product. So you can see here, for example, this is a dashboard and this is a report. And the more connected it is to business questions, the more trees it has, the more people like it, the more green buildings it has, and the more abandoned they are, the more abandoned houses you have. But now imagine that you have 112, and our objective was for them to discuss. And again, no right or wrong, just to start a conversation and a discussion here. So what we did was, instead of having them, instead of delivering this for them in a specific way or like digital, we printed it out and had them discuss it together. So this is another way that we can attend our user. We sometimes need to start a conversation. This doesn't need to be something digital. And finally, the most important discussion difference between analytical solution and format. Analytical solution is how I am tackling the problem from a data science perspective. So how I am transforming information. And it can be a database, an index, a dataviz, an algorithm, or a simulator. And here, as I said, you have more complex or less complex data products or analytical solutions. The more complex it is, the more knowledge I need to have of it. So if I don't understand the database, I'm probably going to have a pretty shitty simulator with, pardon my French. But I need to go through this letter so I can deliver more, so I can understand the rules and I can understand the patterns so I can deliver a better algorithm. But this is actually contrary to my users' literacy. Imagine if Waze from Google was something that was in a, I don't know, in a Excel spreadsheet. And every time you needed to develop something or define something, you would have to do a query to find the information there. It would be terrible. So the more complex it is, the simpler it should be for our user to use. So it is in an app and you only have to do is know the destination, and the rest it does for you. So you have to understand that this here is inverse, and sometimes people don't really know that the more complex a product is or analytical product it is, the simpler and the more effort you have to put into developing and delivering it for a user, which leads us to the final one, which is the format. So I can deliver a database in a dashboard, I can deliver a dataviz in a dashboard, and I can deliver an algorithm in a dashboard. So dashboard is not a product, dashboard is a format. And actually it can be analogical, digital, physical, virtual, mixed reality, open, closed, restricted. And depending on the purpose that I have and on the literacy of my user, which you're seeing here, I have different medias that I can use. So I can use an infographic, I can use a social media post, and I can use a repository. So these are all formats. And my question is, are we using the most adequate format, or are we going to the ones that are more comfortable for us, or the ones that already exist in the company, and I'm just using the tools that are given? So what I'm questioning here is, are we making the right questions to deliver the best for our user? And a final example, so we can close, because I think that my time is up. We also deliver data experiments because we believe there's more to life than dashboards. And we think people should be able to experience data in a different way. We went to a really cool event last year in Brazil, and we had all of this leadership, and we wanted them to be inspired by the new technology and also analyze their visions for future. So what we did was we asked them to tell us what is the future that they envision for Brazil in, I think it was 10 years. And then what we did was we translated this to Midjourney, and we actually transformed them into Polaroids or visions of the future. And we delivered it to them specifically, hand in hand. And later on, we analyzed all of the different futures that they had and transformed this into a report. You can read more about this in the Nightingale. I wrote a post about it there. So you see, there are many ways that we can transform the same information, and many ways you can transform data. And my question here, so I can end, is if our user, the person that's going to consume this is accountable for the decision that they are making, why do we outsource the designing process? Why don't we include this user from the get-go and from the beginning in a way that we can all define what's best for them? So if we're trying to make better decisions, we should be trying to make better data products. I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you very much for your time. You can follow us on multiple social media. If you like cats, follow me. If not, you can follow our more official accounts. Yep, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Letícia. Great speech. And really, it was very useful for me personally, because I understand that traditional business intelligence becomes commodity, and really, if we want to remain this business, we need to redesign our services. We need to redesign data flow and use product approach, because our customers already have hundreds of dashboards, and another one dashboard doesn't have a value. Yes, it was amazing, insightful.
Thank you.
And we have interesting questions. I see a question from Harsh Shah. In your experience, how much time does it take on average to have this conversation with stakeholders to understand needs, prospective users, and their data knowledge? It's a very good question, Harsh. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think it's always a depend kind of answer, but I would say that minimum you would need 2 to 4 hours in the beginning to get everyone on the same page. It will depend on the maturity. It will depend on how much people are used to answering these questions and are used to being asked them. And sometimes you have to do it one time, then you have to show them something, because it's easier for people to criticize than it is for them to build. So one of the things that we have found out is that we should collect as much as we can in the beginning with a workshop. So what we usually do is a 2 to 4 hour workshop, and then we develop it, and then we come back and have them test it, use it, criticize it. So we know that we are on the same path. I usually say that the sooner you make a mistake, the sooner you're going to be able to actually have a better product or to get it right. So I think that it's a depend question, but if you try to put this framework to work with people and have it around the table, I would get at least try to get 3 hours of people with no phones. It's hard, I know, but it's really important to get them all to discuss the details at the table, if that answers your questions.